Support for NPR and the following message come from USPS. Did you know USPS Ground Advantage service keeps your business in the know from dock to delivery and everywhere in between? Keep your business in the know at usps.com/in-the-know.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. This week, we're connecting the dots between the T app, Sarah Schulman, and red flags. I know. How are all of these things connected? Well, we're going to find out with Kathryn Jezer-Morton, writer of the Brooding column from The Cut, and Shannon Keating, freelance culture journalist. Kathryn, Shannon, welcome to It's Been a Minute.
Hi.
Hi, Brittany. Thanks.
I'm excited to have you both. Okay, so I know you both saw the quick rise and fall of the T app from a few weeks ago. For those who missed it, what was the app's original purpose?
Basically alerting people to instances where their partners may be cheating out in the world.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of a more formalized version of different online groups that we've seen, like Are We Dating the Same Guy? Facebook groups.
Yeah.
This is kind of like the next progression.
Yes. According to the T app website, the app was meant to, quote, give women the tools they need to date safely in a world that often overlooks their protection, end quote. Kind of like a digital whisper network that warned users about men, from ghosters to cheaters to abusers. I don't think it's just me who noticed that the fear of cheating and cheaters is looming larger than ever in our dating lives. You don't get the popularity of the T app without it. We are obsessed with cheating and catching cheaters, from Scandival to the Try Guys to Coldplay Gate. It feels like we can't go even a few months without a massive cheating scandal. I feel like even just like last week, there was almost a rehash of the entire Offset Cardi B relationship because like new rumors came out about him allegedly hooking up with Saweetie. It's like cheating never dies. And being cheated on definitely sucks. I know from experience, but it also feels like it's hard to agree on what cheating is because definitions of cheating are really broad. Ultimately, what does it mean that cheating haunts our culture and our dating lives? So, off the jump, why does cheating mean different things to different people? And how has that definition broadened? Kathryn, let's start with you.
I think that the way that we define cheating is really linked to the way that we define love and romance. And I think that those are very culturally determined ideas that have changed a lot over time.
Oh, I haven't heard this before, that how we think of love has changed. Say more about that.
So like something that I've been thinking about a lot is the influence of therapy talk and therapy culture on relationships and intimacy. And there's so much good, I think, that comes from that because people, especially younger people, are learning how to communicate in ways that, like, I'm 42, and like when I think about when I was dating in my 20s, like there wasn't really communication per se at all. Now young people are learning, like, I have needs, I have expectations, I have boundaries, and here is how I express them. I feel like that's just like a good thing. But it also introduces this new way of thinking about romance, which is that, like, if I'm going to have a partner, I'm going to express my needs to them, and now I expect them to meet my needs because I've been clear about them. And so I think there is a way in which, like, romance has been a little bit, like, sapped out, maybe not, like, completely, but, like, the kind of uncontrollable aspect of love and romance is somewhat, like, contained within this sense of, like, well, this is what I expect from my partners. If we think of love as a set of behaviors and expectations versus a set of feelings, then it like brings in this other idea of what cheating is, because it's instead of cheating as like someone being swept away by desire, maybe it's like they're doing a breach of contract. Like they're not fulfilling the set of expectations that were clearly delineated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally see that. I mean, it's interesting what people consider a breach of contract as such, though. For example, I feel like Emotional cheating is a newer concept, and for a lot of people, cheating includes a lot of things that don't involve kissing or sex. According to YouGov, 55% of Americans believe flirting with another person is cheating. 64% say the same about holding hands with another person, and 73% say the same about forming an intense emotional attachment to another person. Now, I am married very happily, and I'd have a problem with some of this if my husband did it, but I don't think that I would consider all of these things to necessarily be cheating. I know that can come down to a sort of individual definition. What I do find interesting about all these statistics is that at least there's a chunk of American people, if not a majority of American people possibly, who kind of view all of those actions as roughly this, like with at least some idea of the same level of intensity, firmly on one side of a very hard line.
Yeah, as Kathryn was saying, people are maybe approaching relationships in this way that's kind of more like a contract, like a checklist of certain behaviors to be met or not to be met. Like I'm thinking a lot about like red flag culture. I think there's nothing more than people love than someone that they don't know talking about a problem that they've had with their boyfriend and being able to tell her like, red flag girl, red flag, like get out of there. Like, I think it comes from a place of maybe expecting the worst from people from the jump, like to put these things in such specific boxes when the truth of relationships, of all human relationships, are so messy and difficult. It just seems like trying to approach a relationship to be like a one-size-fits-all method to all relationships, which I don't think is doing us any favors.
I want to get into another aspect of this whole, like, what is cheating and how are we defining it? Some people are claiming that cheating is abuse. There's actually a whole community of people that have been cheated on who call themselves Chump Nation. And some of them are really adamant about this interpretation. How did this definition gain traction, and what do you make of how it resonates with some people?
Well, I wrote a little bit about Chump Nation in a column I wrote last summer, so I hate to beat the same drum again, but it is a little bit related to a therapization of the self, which is like, I've been harmed, I'm in pain, therefore I must be able to accuse them of something. I must be able to apply a label to them that characterizes them as like fundamentally harmful. So yeah, like this person is an abuser. And I don't feel comfortable equating cheating with abuse personally. But also, it's funny because I'm a little older. I've been married for 20 years. And so like, I feel like an old, like a wizened crone a little bit, because it's like in 20 years, you see a lot, and labels and rules of these kind of like rigidity really doesn't hold up in a long-term relationship. But I don't feel like in all cases harm can be explained by abusive behavior.
Conflict is not abuse.
Yeah, as Sarah Schulman said, that is something I have been thinking about. I think that cheating can be a part of a pattern of abuse, and cheating and abuse can absolutely coexist.
Agree.
But making out with someone drunk at the club is not exactly the same as maybe like your partner moving their way through seducing all of your friends and getting them to gaslight you about it. Like, those are not the same thing to me.
Yeah, it's like that Twitter meme, like, man, I think it depends.
Yeah.
The lack of cheating, a relationship where there hasn't been cheating, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a great and healthy relationship. There could be so many different negative dynamics that are going on that maybe a couple affairs weren't the worst thing that ever happened to you, I mean, there's so many different ways that we as people can betray each other and let each other down.
Coming up, do you think that distrust has increased?
Yes. Part of it is related to people feeling that they have no sense of privacy of their own.
But first, are you that friend, the one who's constantly recommending podcast episodes to anyone who will listen? Well, here's a little recommendation from me. Subscribe to NPR's Pod Club newsletter. You'll get fresh podcast recommendations every week, handpicked by the people that live for this stuff. Nerd out with us. Subscribe at npr.org/podclub. You can also find the link in the description for this episode.
This message comes from Cook Unity. Enjoy high-quality culinary masterpieces for a fraction of restaurant takeout prices. Subscriptions start as low as $11 a meal. Skip deliveries, pause, or cancel anytime. Get what you're craving. Try fresh, great-tasting meal delivery made by your favorite celebrity chefs. Go to cookunity.com/meals or enter code MEALS before checkout for free premium meals for life. Terms and conditions apply. Go to cookunity.com for details.
Support for this podcast and the following message come from Made in Cookware. President and co-founder Jake Kalick shares the key ingredients that go into Made in products.
We try to design products that are going to last you an incredibly long time. And to know that we're making this in places that take the raw materials seriously, take the manufacturing processes seriously, that's ultimately what's going to allow us to sleep better at night selling this product to you.
Learn more about Made in Cookware at MADEIN cookware.com.
This message comes from Sony Pictures Classics with East of Wall, written and directed by Kate Beecroft, an authentic portrait of female cowgirls and their resilience in the New West. Set in South Dakota's Badlands, it follows a rebellious young rancher who rescues horses and shelters wayward teens while navigating grief, family tensions, and the looming loss of her land. Now playing only in theaters.
I also want to note that there's a lot of hypervigilance around cheating. I mean, I think that the T app is evidence. But according to YouGov, 1 in 5 people admit to snooping through their partner's phones. And even more shockingly, 77% of people believe partners should have either access upon request or unlimited access to their partner's phones. I think that's fair to say that being cheated on has always been a fear that people have in relationships. But do you think that distrust has increased?
Yes, I really do. And I think it is related to the general use of surveillance technology in our lives. I teach college, and I was talking to my students last term about the Life 360 app, which is like, just a family tracking app, and people use it for their friends. They use it for whomever they want. And it's really popular, which really made me think about this, because I think that when we have this culture of hypervigilance and people feel like they're being watched and that their behavior is also potentially under scrutiny, it becomes kind of this environment, like a weather system of distrust. Part of it is related to people feeling that they have no sense of privacy of their own. A lot of young people too today, they have no concept that their privacy is valuable, that like they should be able to be private. They're kind of like, well, I have nothing to hide. And it's like, right, but that's not the point. That you should just be able to feel as though you're trusted among couples when there's this sense of, I don't trust you, you don't trust me. Like we're kind of both applying this like really rigorous, I know you go through my phone, I go through your phone. That's just what we do. I hate to use this word. It's like, it's a toxicity that becomes just part of like what people think of as normal, like good practice. Like, we're just looking after our relationship.
There's this like theme that I see all over this conversation, which is like a fear of getting hurt. Like there's this idea that if you catch the cheating in the phone and maybe you can make the first move, or maybe you can have a confrontation or whatever it is, that will make it hurt less, or that you don't get into a relationship with anyone and then no one can ever hurt you, or you explain over and over again what your boundaries and expectations are. And then if they don't, then they're going to burst into flames and God's going to strike them down. And in reality, there's a level of uncertainty that makes love beautiful and exciting and romantic. But that uncertainty does also, of course, leave you vulnerable to being harmed. I don't know. It seems like that the thing that makes romance so incredible is the thing that people are trying to almost cut out. They're trying to eliminate it. And that feels like it's also a big part of where we're at right now.
Even people in relationships who have a fear of intimacy, of getting too intimate, for that fear that you were saying, Brittany, of getting hurt down the line and trying to preempt the hurt before you even get there. But when you do that, you're closing yourself off to so much.
It's like never before have people been less like interested in the idea of being like a fool for love.
Now they call it being a simp and it's negative.
Right, exactly. I wonder too, like, among women, this sort of feminist idea that there's suffering that's sort of inherent in romance. That's wrong. That like women putting themselves in this position of vulnerability is like, why should we have to do that? Like, that's very retrograde.
Like self-betrayal.
There's something like that is considered like such a failure among young people if you're made a fool of, if it turns out that you've been cheated on and you had feelings for someone. Suffering remains inevitable as part of love. Like, if you want to experience love, you will suffer.
That is so interesting. One of the things that blew my mind as I was like, really solidifying my partnership with my now husband was realizing that like the anxiety that I used to feel, because once you're cheated on once, it can be a thing to get over. Like the anxiety that I felt about having my heart broken again or being cheated on again. Once I realized that like that wasn't really likely to happen at any point soon in my current relationship, I suddenly became very preoccupied with like, he's going to die. I'm going to die, which helped me to kind of see that like I just had a lot of anxiety about being vulnerable and open with another person. I wonder, what does it mean that the definition of cheating is both so murky now and also this specter that hovers over a lot of our dating lives?
I mean, I think one quite negative effect of it being so hyper present in dating culture, particularly I feel like straight dating culture, is that I wonder how much people are afraid to do so many things in or out of a relationship. I mean, if you think about how easy it is for someone to feel slighted and then go post about it online and find a group of people who will agree with you that this other person was in the wrong. There's high stakes just going into a relationship when you don't necessarily just have the presumption of privacy or of being able to, trust that you'll be able to work something out with your partner directly and figure it out and give each other grace for tough stuff, because not everyone is going to do the right thing every moment, especially the longer you are in a relationship.
Oh my gosh. Well, Kathryn, Shannon, I've learned so much here. Thank you both so much for this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This has been great.
That was Kathryn Jezer-Morton, columnist for The Cut, and Shannon Keating, freelance culture reporter. And you all know I love hearing from you. And I just want to shout out one comment I read this week on our episode about the best American regional foods. Spotify user Lil Goods wrote, quote, I could listen to a whole episode on the origins of those peanut butter egg rolls. Bring back peanut butter history. Well, did you know that John Harvey Kellogg, like the cereal guy, is credited with popularizing peanut butter in America? He thought meat was both a digestive irritant and a sexual stimulant, and suggested peanut butter could be a less rousing alternative. I do not think that is what George Washington Carver had in mind, but how is that for some peanut butter history, Lil Goods? And to everybody else, I love hearing what y'all connect with in the episodes. So wherever you're listening, drop a comment or review, and you just might hear me shout you out here. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Liam McBain.
This episode was edited by
Nina Patak.
Our supervising producer is
Barton Girdwood.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from Schwab. Everyone has moments when they could have done better, like cutting their own hair or forgetting sunscreen, so now you look like a tomato. Same goes for where you invest. Level up and invest smarter with Schwab. Get market insights, education, and human help when you need it. Learn more at schwab.com.
This message comes from Jerry. Are you tired of your car insurance rate going up, even with a clean driving record? That's why there's Jerry, your proactive insurance assistant. Jerry compares rates side by side from over 50 top insurers and helps you switch with ease. Jerry even tracks market rates and alerts you when it's best to shop. No spam calls, no hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Switch with confidence. Download the Jerry app or visit jerry.ai/NPR today.
This message comes from Charles Schwab. Independent registered investment advisors are fiduciaries. They must act in your best interest always. That's why Schwab is proud to support them. Visit findyourindependengadvisor.com.